Hey guys, welcome to the Scholar Online YouTube channel, the channel that is all about learning. In this channel, I make a lot of videos on how to create your own website, how to create your own e-commerce or WooCommerce website and start making money online by selling products online. If you're new to this channel, please remember to hit the subscribe button. You can find it at the bottom of the video and just hit subscribe. Please like this video if you like my content and remember to leave me a comment below. Talk to me, let me know what you like about the videos, what you don't like about the videos, what I can do to improve on these videos. And if you're new to the channel as well, if you go to the description, there is video timestamps available for you if you want to jump ahead to certain sections of the video. If you don't want to watch the entire video, please feel free to utilize those video timestamps and follow us on our social media channels. We've got a Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram page, and let's start learning. In this video, I'm going to be discussing the main differences between Shopify and WooCommerce and why you would want to choose one over the other. Okay, this is a very common question that I come across on Quora, people asking, what is the better model between Shopify and WooCommerce? Which one should I use? Which one works better? Okay, so I'm going to answer this question for you here in this video by showing you the pros and cons of this, the pros and cons of these different platforms, and then you can make your own decision. All right, let's start by defining the main differences. Shopify is an e-commerce platform where anybody can go create an e-commerce store and start selling products almost immediately. They do everything for you. It is a managed e-commerce platform. All right. Whereas WooCommerce is a plugin that exists on top of a WordPress website. So it converts any WordPress website into an e-commerce store. All right. So both WooCommerce and Shopify allow you to create an e-commerce store and start selling products online. So let's start discussing the main differences and the pros and cons and why you'd want to choose one over the other. And I'll start this discussion with a Shopify, all right? So Shopify, why would you want to use Shopify? These are all the pros of Shopify. Shopify is really easy to set up. It's the easiest to set up, and especially for beginners, it is easy to just go onto the Shopify website, and there's a video that we have in our channel where we show you how to do that exactly. You go to Shopify, you give them your email address, you decide the name of your store, what it is you want to sell, boom, 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 and you can start selling on Shopify in minutes, all right? So it's the easiest to set up. And one other thing that Shopify does really, really well that a lot of people don't always discuss, that you can almost overlook, is the focus analytics, okay? Shopify is really good at showing you the most important numbers when you get started with your e-commerce store. Because as a beginner, you might not know what are the important numbers that you need to be taking care of. For example, you are selling on Shopify, maybe traffic is coming from Facebook, traffic is coming from Google. Shopify is really good at showing you those different traffics. It's very good at showing you now how many minutes people spend. I know you can do that on other platforms as well, but Shopify is good at focusing those numbers for you. So when you're getting started, you don't know that you need to go get an analytics account and you need to go look at how long are people spending in my store. Shopify puts that in front of you right from the beginning. People are spending 2 minutes in your store, and the majority of people visit your store 3 or 4 times before they purchase anything. Things like that are very, very important for you to realize. Oh, and then also the majority of people that purchase anything, actually the people that are coming from Facebook, not the people that are coming from Instagram. Things like that help you focus your marketing efforts on Facebook instead. So you get a lot of those kind of numbers from Shopify, and you get that focus on you right at the beginning so that you know which are the important metrics to focus on. And you don't get that with a lot of the platforms. You sort of have to figure out yourself what are the important metrics, and then go install Google Analytics and go figure those metrics yourself and focus on them yourself. And then you need experience, of course, to know what metrics to focus on. Right. And another good thing about Shopify, it's just much easier to integrate Google Shopping and Google and Facebook, or all these other marketing platforms. The video we did last week where we spent a lot of time integrating Google Shopping, Google Merchant, Google Ads. On Shopify, you can just do that with one click. It does everything for you in the background. So Shopify is definitely the best to get started when you're a beginner and you don't have a lot of time and you don't have a lot of technical skills to do everything manually yourself. Now, the cons. Okay, so if Shopify is so great, what are the cons associated with it? Number one, biggest con, definitely the reason why most people leave Shopify is the cost associated with it. Shopify can get expensive, and it can get expensive very, very quickly. Okay, the bigger you grow, the more expensive it's going to get. I'm going to show you this you know screenshot I took from Shopify website from one of the videos I did, just explain to you the costs involved. Okay, the cheapest version is the $29 one, and then as you go, you're gonna pay more and more as you grow and you get bigger. But what I want to focus your attention on is this $29 excluding VAT. Okay, you're gonna end up paying about $33 once VAT is added, and keep in mind again that this is excluding the transactional costs. So on top of the $29, as you make more and more sales, Shopify charges you a percentage of the sales as a transaction fee for using their platform. So you pay a transaction fee on top of the base fee that you have to pay to Shopify. And keep in mind that if in South Africa or other African countries, you still have to integrate a third-party payment processing that will still charge you another processing fee on top of the amount that you're charging on your store. All right. So Shopify can get expensive, and the next thing about Shopify is the apps involved. Okay, apps. Anything. Every time you start a Shopify store, you need to add apps to do just about everything. And a lot of the Shopify apps are not free. Some of them are free to install. Some of them are free for like the first couple of uses, just for you to test out the app. And the moment the app starts getting actually useful to you, the moment you have to do anything useful of the app, you have to pay. And these apps can add up to get your store to be proper. Okay, to get your store to be like a proper functioning store, you're gonna need apps that cost up to $50. Your apps, you're gonna be paying more for apps than what you're paying this $29 a month to get your store running well. If you wanna get like reviews on your website, you wanna get things like your badges, you wanna get things like cross-selling, upselling, all of that you will pay for. It's not free. You wanna get things like social proof, all of that you're gonna have to pay for when it comes to a Shopify store. Now, the costs are a problem. The second thing is you don't own your store. This is something people don't tell you. This is something that's very hidden in the terms and conditions, very fine print. Shopify owns your store, and Shopify has the right to shut your store down for any reason when you go against their terms and conditions. If you sell something that they don't agree with, so you have to sell products that's in line with their terms and conditions, and your pricing also has to be in line with their terms and conditions. So there's a lot of like rules and like sort of things that you must follow with Shopify, and if you break any one of them, they are very brutal in terms of like just shutting you down. Okay, you could wake up and your website is gone. Okay, they have the right to do that, and it's there in the terms and condition. And for me was a deal breaker, because you spend a lot of time and effort building your brand, and they could just shut it down. All right. So after discussing Shopify, let's go into WooCommerce. Okay, what is WooCommerce and what are the main pros and cons? Okay, WooCommerce, as I said already, it's an additional plugin that you add on top of a WordPress website that adds the e-commerce functionalities on an existing WordPress website. So it adds things like your shopping cart, things like your checkout page, your shopping pages, and the entire checkout process, customer management. All of that is added on top of a normal WordPress website to make a normal WordPress website an e-commerce website. There's a lot of videos on our channel as well that you can go through and you see how that whole thing works. Now, the main difference is that WooCommerce is not it's not a platform that you need to go log in and create an account, and it is free. Okay, so you don't pay to have a WooCommerce e-commerce store at all. There is no monthly fees, except you have to pay for the hosting yourself. All right, so you need to have an existing WordPress website that you are hosting somewhere. All right, and hosting fees, are not very expensive. I've shown you a hosting fee on this channel that is about 90 South African rands, less than $10 a month, all right, to keep that hosting plan. And that's all you pay for. And then you can create your e-commerce store on top of that. And there's no transactional costs, except for the costs that you're paying for the payment processing, which you would have to pay anyway, even if you were on any other platform, all right? So let's start with the pros. The pros is the creative freedom. Okay, you can pretty much do anything you want. There's definitely many more themes out there that it's on WordPress. WordPress is the most widely used a CMS platform in the world. There's more themes, there's more creativity. You can make your store look really, really amazing. The look of of a WordPress e-commerce store definitely trumps the look of a Shopify store. And you have to spend a lot of money if you want paid themes on Shopify to make your Shopify store look better. But with WordPress, you can have something like this. For example, we built this store in a couple of hours, and we paid for the theme, yes, but it's a once-off payment and it's done. And we'll have this forever. We're not paying like monthly to keep a sort of a premium theme. And the second thing is, you get more for less, definitely. Like things like this related products, cross-selling on Shopify, you would need a cross-selling app to be installed, and you would need to pay for that on a monthly basis. So things like this are not free on Shopify. Better SEO. This by far is the thing that for me makes WooCommerce better. All right, WooCommerce is better with SEO. Okay, it helps you focus your SEO better. The Yoast SEO package that you can install on top of a WooCommerce store helps you build your on-page SEO much better than on a Shopify store. All right, but the additional benefits of the SEO on WooCommerce is just that the SEO is just better. I've had stores where I used to have the exact same store on Shopify, and I migrated that store to WordPress. I didn't change anything. I migrated pretty much everything about the store. All right, and the moment I migrated it to WordPress, I assure you, I was getting a good, 2 to 10% extra visitors per month, organic visitors, because SEO just works better on WordPress. I don't know why. This is not easy for me to explain. I think perhaps it's the fact that, with Shopify, there's a lot of layers, maybe because everything is hidden behind the Shopify platform, and then the Shopify platform itself has to manage your SEO. I don't know how that works. But with WordPress, you are directly hosting your own website. So, Google sort of indexes your own website directly, not indexing it through Shopify. I don't know how that works, but SEO just works better on WordPress and on WooCommerce. With everything else equal, you will get more visitors, organic visitors on WordPress than you get on Shopify. And then it's your own store. Okay, this is your own store. You own your own creative freedom. You can do anything you want. If you wanted to sell condoms, you could sell. If you wanted to sell, I don't know, you could sell anything here and nobody's going to shut you down and say this is goes against our policy. You could sell face masks in the time of COVID. This is the thing that they shut a lot of people's stores down on Shopify, including one of my own, because they didn't want you to sell face masks in the time of COVID when they were in most demand. All right? They were shutting you down for selling face masks on Shopify. And you could do that on e-commerce. Nobody's going to shut you down because you're hosting yourself, and it's up to the clients and it's up to the audience to decide if they want to buy your face masks, if they want to buy your condoms, if they want to buy whatever it is. Maybe you're selling sex products, maybe you're running an adult store. You can do whatever you want. It's your business, it's your store, and if the client exists out there to buy your product, why limit people and what people can sell if the clientele exists out there? You could run a gambling website if you want. You could do whatever you want on WooCommerce. Nobody's going to shut you down. The cons, okay? We've started with the pros. Let's go and talk about the cons of WooCommerce, okay? It has its cons. The number one biggest con, especially for beginners, is that it is more technically involved, okay? You've seen our videos. They go for hours. They're very long videos. It takes a lot of effort. And even if you follow that video, most of the time, if you're a beginner, you're not going to finish the store in the hour that I spend, because obviously I have a bit of experience building the WooCommerce store. I can do it in an hour, but as a beginner, you won't do it in an hour, okay? It is more technically involved. The learning curve is much steeper. It takes more. You have to understand the details of how, drop shipping works. A lot of the things are manual. When you're setting up your Google Shopping, you have to do it manually yourself. You have to get your products listed. You have to go open your own account with merchant and all of these things. Whereas on Shopify, they sort of do all of that for you in the background. Okay, so it's a con in the sense that it takes more effort out of you. It takes more energy. You have to be more involved in the details. You have to spend a little bit more time. But even though this is a con, if you really want to be a good developer, I highly advise that you do it, because then you understand how things work. You understand that, okay, so this is how Google Merchant works. So this is how Google Shopping works. And this is the difference. Okay, so this is how the product gets sent through. So this is the pricing. This is how this happens. So even though it's more involved, it takes more time and effort, but you will have a better understanding of how things work if you go into the nuts and bolts yourself, instead of being given a black box and you don't know how anything works inside the black box. When they shut you down, you don't even know where to start. You have to go start from scratch and open a whole new, website. And definitely the cost, I haven't mentioned this here, but obviously it's a con there, but it's a pro here, because, the cost is definitely much, much less. Everything, it takes a lot of effort to set this up, but once you've set this up, I don't have those monthly Shopify 1,000 rands a month, installments going out. I don't have that. With Shopify, the better your store looks, the more money you're making, the more they're charging you. All right. It's not beginner friendly. All right. If you're a beginner, I would highly suggest you start with a Shopify. All right. If you start with WooCommerce as a beginner, you're gonna have problems. Okay. If you got an error, and also security. This is another thing I didn't mention. This. Let me write this down. Okay. Security is a big con for WooCommerce. Okay. WooCommerce is built on top of WordPress, and WordPress is not one of the most secure systems. Why? Because it has sort of like standardized infrastructure. Okay, the development of the website is sort of standardized. Everybody knows the images are kept under WP admin, blah blah blah. Everybody knows the admin login is under your website -WP admin. So people know where everything is. Everybody knows it uses an SQL database. Everybody knows this is how the back end looks like of a WordPress website. This is how the theme, if they see the theme you're using, they can even figure out your filing structure. Okay. This means that somebody who wants to hack you knows where to look, because the infrastructure is standardized, it is generalized, it is easier to hack a WordPress website. What people actually do is that once they get your URL, okay, they know, okay, so the admin for this website is just this /WP admin, right? This is their admin URL. They can just mount a computer or a brute attack a brute attack program on your WP admin and just keep it running for like 6 months, just trying out all the password combinations until they get the right one. Okay, and they can do this, and this is the danger with WordPress. And once they figure out your WordPress password, they can go in there and they can do anything. They can delete your WordPress website. They can I've seen people getting hacked and having their WordPress websites deleted, wada. So security is definitely an issue when you're doing it yourself under WooCommerce. So you need to be aware of such things, and there are things that you need to put in place to make you yourself more secure, because nobody's managing your security for you. Whereas on Shopify, all of these things is managed for you. The security is managed for you. They've got their own brute force, attack programs, anti-brute force attack things running. When you're on WordPress, you have to do it yourself. You have to install the plugin for that. You have to make sure you're changing your password I tell people every 2 to 3 months, you are changing your WordPress admin password. And you cannot use passwords like my name, my birthday, /2020. You cannot use those type of passwords when you are doing an e-commerce store. Please do not do it. You need passwords like *_, passwords that are complex, long passwords, at least 10 elements, 10 characters longer, complex passwords. Rather write your password down than have an easy password you think is easy to remember. If it's easy for you to remember, it's going to be easy for a hacker to guess as well. Keep that in mind. So there are things you can do to be more secure, but of course, when you're a beginner, you don't know these things. Okay, so when you're a beginner, you don't know about the security issues. You don't know about what the sort of the numbers you need to be looking for when you're doing your analytics. So because of that, my conclusion in this video is going to be that the winner depends. If you're a beginner, definitely start with Shopify. If you're a beginner in e-commerce, start with Shopify. It's expensive, but use that time to learn. Learn the analytics, learn the numbers Shopify is showing you, write those numbers down, spend a couple of months, build your Google Shopping Merchant account, do all of those things on Shopify. All right. But make sure that you buy your own domain and transfer that domain to Shopify. Don't use the Shopify domain or don't buy a domain through Shopify. Okay. Buy your own domain. Go to somewhere like domains.co.za, buy your own domain, and then when you start your Shopify store, there's a process where you can transfer your domain using DNS records. You're actually not transferring your domain, you're still keeping your domain, you're just pointing the DNS records to the Shopify server so that the Shopify server can host your website, on Shopify, even though you own the domain somewhere else. Okay, so buy your own domain and point the DNS records to Shopify so that the day you leave Shopify, okay, you just move your DNS records and you don't have to go through Shopify to transfer domains, because it's going to be a pain. By the time you're fighting, it's going to be an issue, right? Buy your own domain, start with Shopify, learn the analytics, learn the security, build your brand, learn a lot of things, and you will outgrow Shopify. And then after that, when you're ready and you've learned a lot of things, then you go to WordPress and then start building your own store slowly. Okay, so we've come to the end of this video. I think I must mention this at this point that in my e-commerce business, I build a lot of e-commerce websites for people, and one of the most common tasks that I do quite often is to migrate stores from Shopify to WooCommerce, and perhaps we'll do a video on that in the coming weeks. I'll do a video showing you exactly how to migrate a Shopify store into WooCommerce, because I get a lot of clients who come to me months down the line, years down the line, and they're like, oh gosh, I can't afford. It's usually the cost, the amount of money coming out, especially during the time of COVID when you couldn't sell anything. Your Shopify installments were still going out 1,000, 2,000 rands a month. And people were like, no, get me out of this Shopify. So be very careful when you go to Shopify. Keep in mind that there will be a time that you want to part ways. Hence, I mentioned the idea of, getting your own domain. The second thing that you must also be doing is to keep your data records yourself. Shopify does record your data, but if you can, make sure you are downloading those CSV files and that you're keeping your data outside of Shopify in your own files for your own record keeping, your own accounting, but also for the day. If you can't access your Shopify backend, you have your data saved somewhere else. Okay, so yeah, thank you guys for watching. We'll see you again next week.